Okay, so this is how to create a line type using the Express Tools. Under Express Tools, there's a special tool for creating line types. So I'm kind of looking to see where it's located. It's right here, Make a Line Type. So before you select that Make Line Type tool, you have to draw out the line type that you want to define. So first I'm setting my ortho on, because I want to make sure that it's a straight line. And then I'm going to draw a horizontal line. And it doesn't really matter where you start it, so I'm just going to come over here. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line. And I'm going to make it 100 units long. Okay, and then enter. And I'm going to come out a little bit, right? And then I'm going to start my next line. And I'm going to use my object tracking, and I want to track it so that it's snapping from a distance of 30 units from here. So I can repeat the line and say from here, and I'm going to offset it at 30 units, comma 0, and notice it just starts it right there. And I'm going to set the short line at 60 units, and then enter. Okay, and then I'm going to do another long line. So I start the line, shift from start here at 30, comma 0, 0 to start the next line. And make this one 100 units, and then enter. So I've got one long line that's 100 units, one long line that's 60 units, one long line that's 100 units, and there's 30 units between them. Then I'm going to go up to Express Tools and go to my tools and say Make Line Type. Okay, and then it asks me where I want to save my line type folder, and I'm just going to come over here to my AutoCAD Basics, and I'm going to call this Custom Line Types. And say Save. Okay, and then it asks me for a line type name, and I'm just going to call it Property Line. So I'll say Property Line and say Enter, and then my description will also be Property Line, and I'll say OK. Then it asks me for my starting point. So there's my starting point, and it asks me for my ending point. There's my ending point, and then it asks me to select what I want. So I'm going to select the 3 lines that I created, and then I'm going to say Enter. All right. So now I've got a line type called Property Line. So how does that work? So if I come over to Layers, and I create a new layer, and I call that layer Property Line. Okay, and I'll give it an interesting color, so I'll call it green, and then I'll set the line type, and notice Property Line is there. It's already preloaded. I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to set that current. Okay, so there's my Property Line layer, green color, Property Line, line type. Now I'm going to go Line. I'm going to draw a line. And you'll notice that it's using the Property Line line type. Okay, and if I go to Properties, it shows that it's on Layer Property Line, and the line type is by layer, so it's the line type that's selected. Now, you'll notice it's got that spacing. If you're not happy with that spacing, you can change the scale on the spacing on the line type scale. So the line type scale is right here. So if I change that to 2 times, notice it changes the gap. If I change it to 0.25, notice it makes it more dashed. So there's a lot of things you can do with the property line scale. And one of the things you can check out next is if you open up your custom line types, wherever that might be, the one that you just saved, you can see what the code looks like. So it's called property line. There's the description, and it's starting out A, and then 100 is the line, and then the minus 30 is the space, and then 60 is the next space, and then minus 30 is the next space, and then 100 is the solid line. So that shows you what the line definition looks like. Okay, and you can come in here and you can edit that if you want. Right? So there you go for property line.